We wish to advise that the following edition of The Late Show is rated M and contains adult humour.
Thank you, Pete Smith, for your rendition of our theme, and welcome to episode 23 of the Champagne Comedy Podcast, where we talk about the best Australian comedy show from the 90s ever made, The Late Show, and other D-Generation comedy tidbits. My name is Matt, and joining this podcast today is Alison, Daniel, Kim and Prue. And also joining us as a guest reviewer is someone who is sort of a legend in the background, mainly on the Champagne Comedy Forum. This is going back years and years ago, but some people will know his name, but other people will just think, oh, just someone. But trust me, he is well worshipped in this group right now, and it is Ben.
Yay! Hello, team. Thank you for having me. You're very kind.
Just take it.
Yeah. No, it's good to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Well, how did you discover the D-Generation or the Late Show?
Well, it was thanks to my mother. I grew up with the Best Bits VHS tapes. I think we had the first two. I don't think we had the third, but a friend had the third. I was only 6 when it started airing, so I don't have any memories of actually watching it on TV. But yeah, certainly my early teens, particularly was when I was pretty into what I had of the Late Show, which was pretty limited. I guess those tapes were an hour long, so it's going to get annoying.
It's okay. Ben has
It sounds like you've got a little fan in the room with you.
It's Charlie the Wonder Dog. That's the other special guest.
So it was one of my friends who I'd known for a number of years. We had never discussed the Late Show previously, and then one day it came up in conversation that he had a number of tapes of the original broadcasts, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'd be interested in seeing more of this show that I had grown up with." I went and collected these tapes, and there was probably 30 odd of them, and I thought, well, someone should probably digitize them, and that someone was me. And then thanks to Kim's website, which was probably in pretty formative stages at this point, I'd started piecing together what was missing. And I think it was only about 4 episodes that were missing in totality. They weren't in order or broadcast because I didn't have that information initially.
Yeah, this is back before any social media existed. So this is just as the forum as is back in the early noughties. Possibly some people were still on dial-up back in the day, really?
Oh, I absolutely was on dial-up then. Then thanks to this community that had started to spring up, there were offers of additional tapes. And so suddenly we had quite a lot of material to choose from, multiple copies of the same episodes, some even on beta recordings, which were fantastic quality and rivaled DVD quality, to be honest with you. And as well as the 4 missing episodes. And at that time, I then knew the air dates, so we could put them all in chronological order, and the rest is history.
Yep, and they're all off-site archive recordings. I don't know how to say that without getting into any legal trouble.
For historical use only.
Yes.
Well, I think
For review and criticism.
Yes.
Well, there's an important story there, because my understanding is that the ABC themselves don't have some of the episodes, so it's a similar situation to Doctor Who, where they had not kept the entire run of the show. I think they still have some of the 3 1/4 inch tapes, but not in totality. So now we have everything, which is great.
I can understand why the ABC probably wouldn't hold on to a show like that. I mean, as we've been going on forever, it was a product of its time. So, I can understand, apart from, whatever was deemed best for home video purposes, they didn't have a need to hold on to the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And they could never air it. Even if they wanted to, they could never air it in totality now. Just the rights and licensing issues are such a minefield. that you would never get clearance. And even if you could get everyone together, the cost to do so would just be cost prohibitive, especially for the public broadcaster. So this is really as good as it gets.
Excellent. And we're sold 2 Redbubble merchandise. Hooray! So we're getting closer.
Yay.
Someone bought a Champagne Comedy Podcast mug and a hashtag Bus Trip the Barrel t-shirt. So thank you.
That was this girl.
I was wondering. I bet Prue bought that.
Oh,
I can't wait for that to wing my way. I'm
well,
gonna
thank
wear
you.
it next time.
You contributed $1 to the prize, which we still need to sell about another 15 coffee mugs, but I do have some more sizzle down the track. I've arranged another prize thing, but I'm waiting to hear back from the distributor. But this is a totally different prize altogether. So there's some sizzle for you. Hopefully you'll find out next episode. And
Fingers crossed.
yes, and if you want to go to the Redbubble merchandise store, the link will be in the podcast description of this episode. And also, in regards to the National Enquirer competition thing that was shown in episode 22, and Kim mentioned something about entering and possibly winning a prize. What was it? Go down to episode recording of The Late Show?
Yeah, you could win an episode. You could actually get flown over to watch the show live, but unfortunately, I didn't win. If you go to the Champagne Comedy Podcast Facebook page, the group, that's in relation to this podcast, you'll see someone actually entered multiple times and went to their news agency, and I think the newsagent felt sorry for them and gave them lots and lots of copies, and they entered the competition and won caps. So,
Forget about those tickets. They don't exist.
Also, one more thing, we do have some feedback. I won't read out the entire email other than thank you so much, David Stewart, for letting us know how you felt about the show, which is all positive. Thank you. Apparently our Burton King rant was funnier than the actual Japanese wall Reading chat as well. So thank you. We appreciate that. And he did have a late show question in regards to episode 21, where it was the Silly Hat Cult Siege with Cliff Thompson. He wanted to know if the voice was who was doing the actual sketch was David Armstrong.
This is David Koresh, the Branch Davidian cult leader who commissioned the mass suicide of nearly 100 of his most loyal followers. Until recently, people thought scenes such as those at Guyana Town and Waker could never serve us here in our own country. That was until the arrival of this man, Cliff Thompson, and his radical cult, who rose to prominence in a siege which lasted 58 days before ending tragically early last week.
He wants to know if that was the guy who is known as the audio assassin from the Melbourne comedy group Danger Lowbrow. And his name wasn't on any of the credits whatsoever. And one person who did know was our own Tony. So Tony actually explains who he is.
Well, yeah, it's definitely David Armstrong, aka the Audio Assassin, aka the Astonishing Armo from Danger Lowbrow. And Danger Lowbrow was like a triple R comedy show in the late 80s. They were more they came out of, from what I remember, RMIT's radio journalism school rather than comedy, because the other members, Leaping Larry L is still around and still does comedy and stuff and does a lot of talk about football and wrestling. Brett Duck is better known to Victorian viewers and maybe national viewers, I'm not sure, as Brett McLeod on Channel 9 News. And Dennis Twilight was the big wrestling fan of the group, and I believe is a lawyer. And I also think, and I could be wrong here, if you watch later in this season, you can see him in the crowd in one of the episodes. So I think they were definitely aware of each other. But as far as working together, I don't think they really did a great deal. I think they were coming up behind them while the DGM was sort of moving into TV. And Danger Lowbrow eventually went to Triple M as well. And I think, from what I remember, they ended up being part of the breakfast show there for a while, but it wasn't a great fit. They were their comedy was much more sort of riffing and chatting about silly stuff rather than sketches. And it didn't really work so well on Triple M when, you only had 3 minutes or 2 minutes between ads. and they would take 10 minutes going on about wrestling it and be hilarious with it, but they needed that sort of build up. So yeah, anyway, to answer the question, yes, that was David Armstrong.
So there you go, David Stewart. And he also wants us to go through the Frontline episodes down the track. So yeah, we're still working on the whole Late Show podcast, and once it's all done, we're still working on some stuff. So thank you very much.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, we'll get that Don Lane Show podcast done just as soon as we've got through Frontline, Funky Squad.
Most of us have got the time for it.
Yeah, we'll do some panel. Yeah.
Every episode of Have You Been Paying Attention?
Oh yes.
Show. That's important.
Also, a quick valet to Reg Gorman, who had just passed away only a few days ago at the time of this recording. He was known as the barman from the Sullivans, but also this guy out of the olden days.
Who's this, Eldon? The winner.
Yeah, no, the Reg Gorman lookalike contest. You remember? You set it up in the last episode.
So I did. Must have slipped your mind, Governor. Honestly, I'd forget my own testicles if they weren't screwed on.
Actually, you have, sir. I found them outside. At least, I think they're yours. They match the photograph in the post office.
Yes, that's them all right.
What a great way to be known. It's time for...
I've got the paper! I've the
paper! Daniel G and his program guide.
Thanks, Matt. So this is all from the Critical Guide to the Weekend's TV and the Saturday Age, the program guide, plus Ross Warnicki's comments. So I'll start on Channel 7, and at 8:30 they had The Darling Buds of May, a double episode at the start of the third season. Says Warnicki, back for a new series, this British heartwarmer set in the 50s oozes gentle folksy humour and old-fashioned niceness, with David Jason, brackets, Granville in open all hours, close brackets.
Doesn't it also have Catherine Zeta-Jones?
Yeah. Yes, it does,
yeah.
Yes.
I must watch that now that I've finished Rosemary in Time.
Oh,
I've got to move on.
Oh, so you still got to get on your...
What'll I do? I just can't bring myself to it.
The entire box set. Go on.
Maybe one day.
Don't worry, I'm still going through my Hey Hey collection.
And speaking of Hey Hey, on Channel 9 at 6:30 we had Hey Hey featuring guests Taylor Dane and Things of Stone and Wood, possibly going through their countless Melbourne references. Yes, go on, Matt.
Actually, I can say they performed Perfect Raindrop, which was actually before Happy Birthday Helen.
And I think I had that on CD single. How embarrassing.
Now, also, usually there's no comment next to the listing, but Warnicki breaks form here. He says, after more than 20 years, it's not surprising that this crazy show gets into a rut from time to time. But the one it has fallen into recently seems deeper than most.
Gosh.
Yeah.
What's the rut, though? What is the rut specifically?
I don't know. He doesn't elaborate.
Hang on. Was that him talking about Hey Hey?
Yeah, that's him talking about Hey Hey, yeah.
Yeah, well, he absolutely finally starts to resonate what we were all thinking.
Then after Hey Hey, we've got cricket, England versus Australia, delayed coverage of the morning session of the third day of the second test at Lord's. Again, he says, for those who can't wait, there's live description on 3LO from 8 p.m. But if you wanted to stick to the telly, you would have gotten Richie Benode, Ian Chappell, Tony Gregg, Bill Laurie, Bob Willis, and Jeff Lawson. And if the session had been rained out, you would have caught KL US Marshall. Over on Channel 10, we have the US telemovie Christine Cromwell. Jacqueline Smith stars as a member of a firm of detectives, two of whose clients are among suspects in the murder of a con man. Now, over on SBS, you might remember that last episode we had the Francois Truffaut movie, The 400 Blows.
Of course.
Now,
yeah.
Well, if you'd been paying attention. And it turns out that this episode, it's the second of a 4-week season of Truffaut films. So this is the 1960 French melodrama Shoot the Pianist. Says Warnke, this one is a sometimes funny, often sad account of a pianist past his prime, played by Charles Aznavour, who gets involved with gangsters with tragic results. Truffaut's direction and Raoul Coutard's photography merge in a moody melange of backstreet Paris. Black and white.
Fascinating programming from SBS World Movies. Like they were almost like a Cinematheque.
Well, yeah, and there's 2 more weeks of Truffaut movies as well. So, like the jingle says, SBS really are knocking at the door. Okay, and over to the ABC. So before the Late Show, we had Birds of a Feather. It was season 1, episode 7, the Christmas special titled Sailing. Will Tracy and Sharon take that luxury Christmas cruise they booked before their husbands went to prison?
God, did they actually do exterior locations in that show? All I can remember is them sitting in the one lounge room, and that was it.
Well, that's what that clip was at the very beginning that I played of the show.
Saturday at 9:30. Tonight, Rage and Triple J bring you the beginning of the big day in.
This was thanks to my video, was it, Matt?
Correct, yes. That was the Sydney broadcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm reading it out. That voiceover artist is doing a better job than I am. But I'll carry on. The listing for The Late Show has Warnke saying that The Late Show is still settling into its 2nd season, but the DJ's live sketch comedy show is hard to beat. And then at 11 o'clock, highlights from last year's Stompin' Ground Aboriginal Festival. You might recall that was up against season 1, episode 8, back in September 92. Then the ATVI news at 12:30 and Rage at 1 o'clock. And that's what was up against The Late Show.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Looking forward to next episode's program guide and another viewing of Hey Hey just to make sure. I'm waiting for Things to Stone and Wood to play Happy Birthday, Helen, eventually.
and more Truffaut. What movie will it be?
Yeah, we should take bets on which Truffaut they're going to show next time.
All right, it's time to dissect and destroy The Late Show, Season 2, Episode 3, broadcast on Saturday, June 19th, 1993. And we have an opening of a commercial, which is Tony Martin doing a voiceover for Gilligan's Island Resort.
I always was annoyed by this one that it was on the best bits.
It was taking up precious room.
I felt like it was taking up precious room. It was fine, but it wasn't a best bit. And I'm grumpy about it to this day.
It did sort of seem like it was maybe a sketch that might have originally been for the radio, but just, they just put graphics, of idyllic island locations over the top of it. And, that's 1 minute down, 48 to go.
Yeah, I think that's what annoys me, the stock footage of beaches. It's just so irritatingly bland. And it doesn't have any of them in it.
Do you think you would have enjoyed it more if they were playing all the characters in Gilligan's Island?
Correct.
Yeah, that would have been funnier. That would have been funnier.
Oh,
Santo.
Yeah, definitely Santo. Yeah.
That guy with a hat that Mick and Tony were interviewing in the street.
So after the opening titles, we got the opening remarks, and Mick is sipping away at a can of Pepsi. So Tony wants to get some. Mick refuses because you're not allowed to share needles.
I love that little. They both turn to the audience with their arms outstretched, going, we've done it again.
But that was all about the tampering of the Pepsi cans in the US. Here's a little snippet of a story.
I can tell you at about 1:30 this afternoon, it was reported to us that a woman had discovered a small 2.5-inch, looked like a sewing needle, in a Pepsi can that she had purchased from a grocery store on the south side. As she was drinking it, she felt it touch her top lip. So alertly, she poured the soft drink into a cup and discovered there was about a 2.5-inch needle.
Was she injured?
No, the needle just touched her top lip, and then she again poured it into the cup.
Sorry about the audio quality of that.
But that's
it was a sewing needle.
Yes, it totally destroys the joke, because all of the jokes that they do in this episode about basically shooting up gear, and this is just a sewing needle.
Well, Well, I did some research on this, and apparently the needle came later. So there was a surveillance camera in Colorado that captured a woman shopper apparently inserting a syringe into a can of Diet Pepsi. The company copied the tape and included it into a video news release package that it was sent to television stations around the country. But see, there's something quite wrong with that, because why would you buy a can that had been obviously opened? Like I'm not going to say you deserve to get a syringe, but
you deserve to get a flat Coke. That's what you deserve.
Yeah, it just seemed like a fishy story, and if you look it up, Snopes has disproved the whole thing, and a lot of people were trying to cash in, and you got dozens of reports saying that people had this syringe in there, and they just wanted to get a quick buck, to get some compensation, really. But I'm not sure if it all started with, maybe there was a small grain of truth in it, but it all made for a good joke.
I think my favourite part of it is Tony going, "Get some."
Kim, just to go back to what you said about Snopes. So Snopes said that basically she did this, she faked the needle in there to get some compensation money. Is that right?
Well, they said a number of people, so I'm not sure if it was this particular lady with the needle, but they did mention that there were about 52 reports in 23 states of all these people just saying, "I've got a syringe," and they could never prove that it was happening. And Pepsi went on this whole campaign to try and say, "Look, we can these things really fast. There's just like a tenth of a second that there's no way you could put a needle in the can." So it's quite an interesting story. And the media obviously focused on the whole syringe thing, not the fact that it possibly was a hoax. But it's like I said, it made for some good jokes.
Oh, it did, especially the Pepsi pun of "you got the right one, baby" joke. That Tony and Mick just kept lining it up. We won't repeat those doctor jokes, but yeah, it was really funny.
They seem to, Mick and Tony seem to go on all these different tangents with all these different jokes. It seems it's almost like a proto Martin Lloyd radio show, just about.
Yeah,
because they make jokes about, like, it'd be worse if there was Pepsi in the syringe rather than a vaccine, which is kind of prescient today, I think.
Yeah. I like the idea of getting the flu vax in your bum. That was wildly inaccurate.
Diet Pepsi, because he's watching his weight.
Yeah. The one little thing I like is the little reenactment in the corner of the screen during the bit with props. There's also a lot of props in this monologue as well, you'll notice.
Yeah, I totally thought that too. Like, and I also wondered if Mick was a little bit grand. Like, there was something about him throwing his arms out and having all these props, and I thought he seems a little bit loose or something, like he's a little bit pissed. I don't know if that was just me who thought that.
Yeah, there was various stories though, such as the abandoned kid who grew up in isolation and now he's a Supreme Court judge. So yeah, I don't.
The joke being that he was raised by dingoes and didn't know about the concept of women, and so now he's a Supreme Court judge. A reference to the various Supreme Court judges who'd sort of made very anti-women judgments, I suppose.
Will that be the one that was like from last week in regards? No, was that this one?
No means yes. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah.
I thought the one from last episode was a South Australian judge.
There were a lot of them in the early 90s. There were a lot of these sexist judges just say, "Yeah, it's fine to rape women." That was kind of a thing at the time.
I mean, not that I want to have Adelaide lay claim as the home of that kind of thing.
No, we're too busy being the murder capital.
There was also triplets born 45 days apart, and police tried to get the baby out, but Mike Wellesley convinced it with an exclusive interview. So that was a nice little.
And now it's over to the news desk with Tommy G.
This is where the teaser came in.
Dick Smith, the electronic wizard in the electronic land of Oz. We are the Dick Smiths, whiz kids, and we watch the wizard become. Why? Dick Smith.
Anyway, I just grabbed a random Dick Smith commercial from the 80s because it was all about Dick Smith being the first person to fly or float, I guess, across Australia from west to east in a balloon. Dick Smith joins Tommy on satellite and it just keeps going on and on.
I love this impression from Rob. And looking at him really closely, you can see that his eyes are actually fully closed the entire time. Like, I just like that attention to detail. Like, Dick Smith has got squinty eyes, so I'll just shut my eyes.
But the best part of this whole bit is in the best bits of the DVD. So, yeah, a lot of the stuff just goes on a random tangent.
Yeah.
Lots
Have
of
you
gaps.
looked at Wicker up close? That was always my favourite.
I think it's the helium as well, because he's obviously just had some helium when he first appears, and then the effects of the helium wear off, and then towards the end he just really sucks on the helium again. Suddenly you get the chipmunk voice, and it's great.
Yeah, I love that bit at the end when it's sort of gone, it's finished, and Tommy G's just like shaking his head at him and he sucks on the helium, and then he's just saying some random shit like, why don't you pop over and see me sometime? And, this is how I get my energy. It's very funny.
Now, also, probably to Matt's benefit, you might have noticed no headlines, just straight into Dick Smith. No crappy jokes. This news there seems to be very much trimmed of fat, I think.
Man, it was getting hard to explain the quick fire jokes.
Explain visual gags on an audio medium.
Yeah.
So, you can rest this week.
Well, then again, the next story that happens after Dick Smith was all about the gorilla that was leaving Melbourne, the IVF gorilla. And it was heading to England, and transporters forgot to put air holes in the crate.
Yeah. It's a funny gag, but actually Missouri was I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I think that's her name. Was a massive hero. Like, I remember in primary school she was a superstar of the Melbourne Zoo. Could be a boy, actually, I don't know. Let's use that.
Yeah. Actually, you're right, Prue, because I remember I went to the Melbourne Zoo for the first time in 1993, and somewhere I've got a souvenir booklet, and she was on the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to write a report on it in Year 5. I remember way back then.
Can I give you an update on Missouri, the gorilla?
Yes.
It's not a good one, though.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure
But,
it isn't.
However, due to how, I'll put it this way, Missouri passed away at age 32 in 2017. So that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, that's a good long innings for a, baby gorilla in captivity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially also, his claims to fame, and it is a he.
Whoops.
It's all right, whatever, He's famous for being the first primate who was born through artificial insemination in 1984.
Yeah.
Royal news: Prince Charles hurts his back in polo, and it's not the first time. And so Tommy just plays clips of him falling off the horse up until the bullfighter won, which. British police are getting new batons. US police have tested them in the field and out on the road. Yep, straight up.
Back into the Rodney King footage.
Yeah. But
also the payoff of Jane Kennedy dressed as a female police woman. Hang on, that's weird. But anyway, dressed as a cop doing the wet towel flick. Hilarious.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
And also, they're doing it on Michael Hirsch.
Yeah.
Seems to have, obviously doesn't make enough money through the degeneration, so he has to turn to a life of crime.
And back to chat about Pepsi cans. And so Tommy G ends up showing what's inside him, with Pepsi having a syringe. So he gets out a Coke can because they've decided to step it up a notch. And they claim you got a syringe, a spoon, and possibly a tourniquet. So
I really enjoy seeing the vintage Pepsi can. Like, why don't they just bring that back just as a limited edition? Like, Coke is so much better at doing this. I remember tracking down a Coke new Coke can a few years ago as a tie-in with I think the second season of Stranger Things, and it's the old logo, and I'd always wanted to try a new Coke. It was like sort of Pepsi, just much more sugary formulation.
Apparently, New Coke tastes sort of similar to Diet Coke. Apparently.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit different for us Aussies as well because the US formulation of Coke has fructose as opposed to cane sugar. So there's a different taste anyway. But to my tongue, it tasted much more like Pepsi, much more sugary, sort of fake sugary. Yeah, it was interesting.
Well, you got the right one, baby.
A bit of a hint of syringe in there.
There's also a herbal tea, but that's also been contaminated with animal feces. What a great prop.
I just love this. I love that it's a turd on a string. and the front row of the audience just pisses themselves. They just lose their shit. They lose their turd on a string.
I just love the innocuous description in the recall warning: animal excreta. It sounds so technical.
Yeah. And which animal?
It looked like human. That's what it looked like.
To showbiz news, and Jurassic Park has opened with record attendance, and it's a story about a theme park with people trapped inside with an extinct species, and they show a grab of Perfect Match's Greg Evans. Like peaches and cream.
Jurassic Park didn't hit cinema screens in Australia until the 2nd of September. So this is some 3 months delay between the US release, which was pretty common back then because obviously they had to ship 35mm prints halfway across the world. But 3 months, I mean, there is less time now between a cinema release and home video now or streaming. 3 months would have been quite the wait, I think. But that was obviously huge and was the highest grossing film of all time up until Titanic, which was 4 years later.
Now, I'm just wondering, why are they picking on Greg Evans, of all people?
He probably was without a job at the time.
Yeah, because Perfect Match had been cancelled like a year or so before, maybe. I can't remember when Perfect Match got cancelled. But then I think Greg Evans, didn't he go on to do something else which then got axed? Or I don't know. No one remembers this.
It was this era where I remember, you know how I said I knew a little bit about cricket at this time? Like I had a massive crush on Steve Waugh, right? So when he put out his diary, I went to Southland to get it signed by him in like the centre court area, and Greg Evans was his MC. So that he had an audience of about 12. So poor old, but I remember about that Greg Evans was on fire. He was just like throwing puns. He was calling out the audience and, cracking gags. And I thought, wow, this guy's really working overtime. But he must have been low on gigs, I think, to be doing Southland.
Well,
okay. I've Googled this, right? So Greg Evans left Perfect Match in 1989, right? And then he moved over to do Blind Date, which is a very, very similar program.
Absolutely.
And then that ended in 91. And then, he pretty much didn't really have anything much to do at that point, from what I can tell. I think he's gone on to do radio programs.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, 3AW he did, and Gold FM, various things. But yeah, I think at that exact moment in the early 90s, he really didn't have much of a career in television at all. So that's what the reference is.
Next is sport, and we have motor racing world is mourning the loss of James Hunt, and friend and co-commentator Murray Walker chats to Tommy G down the line.
Terrible loss. He was a great driver, a very popular driver, as you would have seen at the service. All the compatriots were there. Prost, PK, Senna, Schumacher, then comes Brundle, Berger, Lacey, Hucker, through the chicane comes Nakajima. Sorry, it was a reflex action.
It was. And this guy, James Hunt, is that the driver that Chris Hemsworth plays in that movie Rush?
Well, James Hunt was a British driver.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was played in the film though.
Yeah, 2013 film Rush, in which Hunt was played by Chris Hemsworth.
Hot stuff. Everyone watched that immediately. It's amazing.
And guess what? It's more cricket talk, Prue. And it's Australia versus England, the second test, and the first time they've been using a third umpire with a. And now this joke only works because of the quick visual that they had of the third umpire having a bottle of piss, really.
Yeah, hilarious.
It's a bottle of wine sitting on the windowsill of their little booth, and then they can then do the joke of they go to the third umpire and the third umpire can't give a result because they've been drinking the wine.
It's again sort of similar to the 3-month wait between US and Australian movies that Ben pointed out. It's just amazing to think that they're only just starting to do the third umpire, video umpiring in '93, and nowadays it's like it's a whole war room, and it's called VAR these days.
Now it's time for a commercial, and it is
another product that tells the world I'm stupid.
A series of I'm Stupid product commercials. And this one is a VCR being too complicated for an old fart. Then use the I'm Stupid product. One remote with 2 large buttons. Stop and play.
What about rewind?
Record.
Yeah.
All people don't want to do that. It's a good joke because notoriously, VCRs were very difficult to use. Particularly trying to program a VCR did kind of require a university degree. So that's the joke there. But yeah, I think this video wouldn't actually work in the real world without at least a rewind button.
Remember how insane they were? Like, especially if you had like a 4-head VCR, so you could do it in long play or double play. Like, it was insanely difficult. So in fact that they're taking the piss out of the grannies for not knowing how to use it, it's a bit harsh.
Yeah. These ads are also is directly a piss take of a VCR which would have been in the market at the time made by Amstrad. So that's sort of where the I'm Stupid name sort of comes from, and yeah, it was basically Amstrad and Lord Sugar, I suppose, who would have been running it at the time. Trying to make complicated VCRs become user friendly. Obviously, not everybody could afford the VCR with the barcode reader in the remote.
G-codes.
Yeah.
And we've got a big live sketch happening here, which is the United Nations meeting. Now, this one is just so goddamn huge. They start off with a new member to the table, which is Paradise Beach.
All I'm saying is the United Nations can't go around killing people. Now, all those agreed?
Yes.
Hey, Warner Brothers Movie World!
Yeah.
That was a running joke from last time, from one of the early episodes.
Pressing issues such as Italy wanting a new UN helmets as well. Guess who is playing Italy?
Is that Santo?
Yeah, the typical ethnic person.
Although Jane is Mexico, so it doesn't really make any sense. And Tony's Pakistan, so...
He hasn't even browned up, Tony, which
thank God.
I'm sort of I'm relieved by, I am.
Yeah, we should probably be thankful that there's no comedy foreign accents to be heard whatsoever throughout this sketch. There's quite a few that are ripe for Mino Reiki territory.
There's just one hilarious comedy wig with Rob Sitch wearing the weirdest wig of all time that's kind of flapping on the back of his neck. This sketch, I don't know. Like, I've got written down here, what is going on? Is it bad jokes or forgotten lines?
Yes, I totally agree with that because it was
It's
just
very incoherent.
Yeah. And it was like that Tommy G was trying to keep it all in line, but the guys were just going on tangents.
Yeah, and that can sometimes work, as we know, that kind of like, live improv, and it's funny. But this one seemed like they were anxious to pull it back to the script, but then nobody seemed to really remember the script super well. And
I find it hard to believe that they couldn't remember the scripts, considering that they had them on the desks in plain sight.
It felt like one of those sketches where it's basically a bunch of isolated gags that they've stitched together with some kind of crappy scenario, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's basically just an excuse to do, you know, the Mexican wave and you know, the undies joke, because they've got these hats with UN and someone's put DIES afterwards, and just to wear stupid wigs. And yeah, it's not a very cohesive or even very funny sketch, but I guess it fills in 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
This whole sketch itself is spliced into various segments on the best bits.
Well, actually, one of the greatest moments of this sketch is the TV week expressions that Jane Kennedy and Jason sort of
the tilt your head, smile, and fingers. Yeah.
I just also like the thinking music, and then Rob just says, "Yeah, I'm going to come back tomorrow, Glenn."
At the end, they wrapped it up with the resolution draft.
We, the United Nations.
No, use the big words. Use the big words.
Notwithstanding.
Notwithstanding.
Ingenuitous. Yeah. Ingenuitous.
Warner Brothers Movie World.
Notwithstanding, what was it?
Extraneous regulations.
Extraneous regulations. We, the United Nations, determine.
Solemnly
determined to get new hats.
Yeah, there we go. A shambolic end to a shambolic sketch.
Damn straight.
It's kind of an interesting foresight, isn't it, that the UN was basically hopeless.
Yeah.
They were ahead of their time.
Yeah.
The next sketch is a commercial, again, with the...
Another product that tells the world, I'm stupid.
And this time it's about a user-friendly I'm stupid car. Simple buttons to use. Stop, start, and eject.
A pretty standard sort of sketch, and yeah, sort of going, you know, what if we took the concept of the VCR and put it into other settings?
Is the old guy the guy from the Elderly Operations Centre saying, yes, hello, ABC?
Yeah, he is.
Or Channel 9. Channel 9. Yeah, like to complain.
Channel 9, I'd like to complain. That he had a Scottish accent or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
Is that Channel 9? I'd like to complain. Sorry, that was series 1 of this podcast where we did stupid impressions.
Now we're to the stage, and Jace is mad because a man who was the first one to win a women's beauty pageant, and him and Mick are mad because they have proof that they entered a couple of years ago. They also claim that they were the original cast members for Paradise Beach, but were completely cut out. So they end up playing the scenes that they were in, that ended up on the cutting room floor. What do you feel about this whole Paradise Beach send up again? Do you think it's a joke that's just gone on a bit too far now?
Yeah, I think if you read the Juice magazine article from September 1993, the reporter actually was with them during the time that they filmed this sketch, and just describes the situation of how they're at the Port Phillip Bay shoreline, and they found they went to the pathetic sand of Point Ormond. But it turns out that in the photo of the beauty pageant girls, they had to pay them for 4 hours work. So they thought, oh, let's just chuck them into a Paradise Beach satire as well. So it looks like it was a kind of a last minute thing, and they were just kind of dragging out the whole Paradise Beach thing. What I did find,
efficiency of labour.
Yeah, they had to use these beautiful people for this sketch. And it turns out that Mick lost his ring in the surf and spent a lot of time trying to find it, and much to Jason's annoyance. And he kept saying, oh, you're not looking for your ring, are you? But if you notice, when he's talking to the girls, he's got 2 rings. And then when you look back at the intro, he's only got 1 ring. So he never found that ring. I actually went back and had a quick look. So that's quite sad.
That's a sad story. I was wondering where it was. So that is down in Elwood, that beach then, if it's Point Ormond, because it looks effing freezing. It looks like a terrible Melbourne beach.
It's a very overcast day, not really what you'd be wanting if you had to wear a bikini, for example.
Yeah, those poor girls.
Yeah.
They probably had North Face jackets to get into afterwards.
Imagine on their CV, it's like, so what's your acting skills? I was in the background throwing beach balls.
Yeah.
Now, also, like even though this segment technically isn't muckraking, it certainly does seem like it's muckraking in spirit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of absurdity. There's a lot of kicking other Australian areas of entertainment. And we also get a bit of a cameo with producer Mark Gibson as the Paradise Beach director. Telling Mick and Jace, then we roll in the Rat Cat song, and then replying, when do we get to meet Tiffany Lang?
But I just think in general these jokes don't work because nobody was watching Paradise Beach. Everybody was watching the Late Show watch Paradise Beach, but nobody was actually watching the original thing.
Just after that, we get a bit of flirting between Mick and Judith.
Yes.
Yes, another example of this.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the evidence. Now listen very, very carefully.
Your acting in that scene was superb.
Jace, I was dragged along in your wake.
Oh, don't say that.
That was
Don't
too
say that.
force. Where'd you learn that? Where'd you learn that?
New York, Stella Adler.
Stella Adler in New York? Yeah. When were you in New York?
With you and Tone.
Oh, that's right.
Bronx goes up and the battleship down.
Guys, that was great, but I'm only human. Can we have another shot of that beauty pageant picture? Because I think we're talking coffee table stomachs there, aren't we?
Judith, you can eat your dinner off those tummies. And you'll come back for seconds.
I want a three-course meal.
Dream on.
And I want sorbet in between.
Yeah.
Outrageously flirtatious.
It's funny, like, I don't love this episode. It's sort of a little bit, I don't know, it just doesn't hit all the right marks for me. But there's a lot of that flirty stuff. Like, there's that with Jude and Mick, and then later there's, Jane and Rob, the usual stuff. So, but yeah, it's sort of a standout episode for that kind of woo vibe.
Well, Mick and Jude, the flirtation, mainly from Judith's side, ramps up over the series. So there's plenty more of that to come.
All bullshit, of course.
Well, they, as we know, they didn't actually get it on for another 9 years.
Oh.
During the filming of Crackerjack, apparently.
Oh my God, Alison, that's like a newsflash. I'd never heard that in my
Heard
life.
it here first.
Do we need to say allegedly at all?
No, we don't need to say allegedly because Judith has talked about this. She talked about how
not listening properly.
Ages ago, like she's talked about this multiple times in interviews about her and Mick got it on briefly around the time of Crackerjack, but never before and never again. It sort of seemed like a kind of casual hookup type deal, friends with benefits sort of thing.
I thought I was the one that was going to get sued from this podcast appearance.
Judith can try and sue me if she likes, but
she said it.
I don't have any money, and also she said it.
Yeah. But that just makes the making of bad eggs all the more fascinating.
Well, maybe they were still going. I don't know.
Well, that will be on.
Right in.
Judith goes into the audience to ask their thoughts about the bloke who actually won that beauty contest. Now, I actually found some information about this, and the person is Damien Taylor. So this is from a news article in 1993. Damien Taylor, 24, won the Tweed Coolangatta Miss Wintersun title from a bunch of females and announced he was after the Miss Australia crown. I won't be burning my undies or waving placards, but I'd like to have the chance to be Miss Australia, he said. So there you go. He won, but that's as far as he got. So, and being close to the Tweed Coolangatta borderline, it doesn't really make a difference. So, yeah.
Yeah, what a loser.
But that does lead into one of the most famous street interviews that with Mick and Tony.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just them going around talking to people in Melbourne, asking, what they thought about the guy winning the Miss Australia competition, which leads to our favourite guy of all.
I don't know. I think well, what do you think they're going on competition and further? They're going on competition further. He going on competition further.
It just makes me laugh, even though I've heard it hundreds of times.
Oh, it's just
Yeah,
so
me too.
fucking funny, this street talk. It's like how to find the weirdest collection of weird looking guys ever. Ever. Like each one of them just keeps trumping the other one. You know, you see that guy, then you see the weird guy in the Ugg boots, then you see the weird guy in the stack hat, then you see the weird bowl-headed cut guy.
Mr. Lumberjack 1993.
Oh, this guy.
And all my friends out there, good day from Dominic. How are you?
Thanks, Dominic. Or should that be Miss Dominic? Australian, not
Oh, not Miss, Mister.
That was one of our competition winners, wasn't it? Or
It was.
Yeah, it was classic enough to be quoted.
Even the people that they don't manage to get an interview that they manage to get gold out of. So, you know, the guy saying too old, no interest.
Yes,
Or-
great.
Yeah.
Too old, no interest.
So
George
that
the
to
Animal
me,
Steel.
to this day, is in my conversation vernacular. Too old, no interest. No one else gets it, of course. You know, it
That's
makes
a
me
really
happy.
niche quote, Ben.
It really is.
Yeah, that's even more niche than you've got a kid attached to the back of your head, which is another one that we used to say all the time.
Yeah, I think apart from the bit that's after that, I think that's the second most favorite bit. The guy pretending he can't speak English. Tony's saying, "Do you realize you've got a kid attached to the back of your head?" And he just cracks.
Yeah, he's like,
Well, he understands English. He may not be
Yeah.
able to speak it. Oh, it's such a great street talk.
Yeah,
I'm
really,
quite fond of the
trumped
bloke who. Sorry, go on, Ben.
I was just saying, it's all of these quotes, as great as they are not trumped by the final, which is,
Yeah.
darling, you're shocking, but you're not young. Goodbye.
Darling, you're shocking, but you're not young.
And also, like one of those teen queens type girls who says, "Oh yeah, if he had a wash, maybe."
It goes, I've had a gutful.
He was really copying it. It was really a low blow.
It's excellent that Mick seems to get as much of a serve as he's dishing out to all the weird-looking people.
Yeah, that is a great. I think that's one of the things about street talk that make it so wonderful. It's occasionally that it turns the knife, you know, and the vox poppers get to sort of hand it back. I love that. And it does seem to happen more in this season than the previous one.
Yeah, it's like they've seen the first season. They know what that's all about.
Yeah.
They've got their ammunition ready.
And then there was a Scottish guy who is forced into the Scotty quote, and then Mick responds with, was it Mick or Tony? I think it was Tony. Responds with, Star Trek 7, and of course, Mr. Scott is in Star Trek 7, which was the final Star Trek movie that had the original cast members in it. So that was a nice little payoff in real life.
It's good of him to do the no, Captain, I cannot give you any more. Really nice of him to do that.
Well, here you go. I posted the image of...
And all my friends out there, good day from Dominic. How are you?
So I did put that up on Facebook on the Late Show page, the fan page, and someone actually made the comment saying that he still hangs around in Altona North, Borwick Square.
What the hell was he doing in Ackland Street in 1993? I guess he was a butcher or something. He looked like he had a butcher's apron.
Well, someone here has written, and I won't mention any names, I met him at a party once. I was really smashed and couldn't stop myself from laughing while recalling his performance. He was a good sport about it, but I could tell he was a little irritated and embarrassed about it. Imagine he's had to revisit a lot more than I have.
You're Mr. Lumberjack in 1993! Yay!
I want to know if the bloke who very earnestly answered when they said to him, what would you look for in a Miss Australia's, and he said, sensitivity, intelligence, and then one of them comes in with enormous testicles.
Yeah. That was so funny.
Do people yell enormous testicles calls of that guy when he's out on the street. I don't know.
That guy just absolutely cracked up in the best way. He's got the most amazing laugh.
Yeah.
We'll move on to, it's another commercial.
Another product that tells the world I'm stupid.
Well, not really the full thing, because just as that was about to start with the old man, Rob, the actual host of the I'm Stupid commercials, ends up punching the living daylights out of him.
It does have, like, it's such a knockout line that the old guy has to say. Like, imagine having to audition to have to say the line, "Why are these underpants so complicated?" It's just such a, like, imagine typing out that line. Pure gold. Next.
Yep.
Champagne comedy.
It's time for
Charlie, we love you.
It is Charlie the Wonder Dog, episode 3, Dead Man's Weir. And, this is the one where we have our friend of the podcast, what's his name? Justin Anderson. I did mind blank for a moment there. The Piss Week
We know him better as foolhardy Cousin George, of course.
Yes. The Piss Week kids go picnicking by themselves at Havenswood National Park, but there's one Piss Week kid missing.
Isn't it a shame that our brother Peter can't be with us, seeing as he's gone to the city on an exchange student scheme?
Imagine that. Imagine going to the city for exchange.
Yeah.
Instead of like Germany or something, you just go to the city.
Sadly, that is a trek. That is quite a trek for us in these lockdown times.
What I do love about this is that if you look at closely, actually you don't even have to look closely because it's right obviously there that all the kids are just getting the lines fed to them, and the blank look that Nick just gives the youngest Piss Week kid just stares at the camera after he's done his line. It's like, did I get that right type thing? But foolhardy Cousin George is around, just as long as he doesn't go swimming in a disused dam.
Has anyone seen foolhardy Cousin George?
But then Charlie can hear the cries for help, and so they go out for the beacon to rescue him, pretty much, and they stop because there's dangerous currents, a rip, and a hidden reef.
All in a dam as well. What dam has a reef and dangerous rips?
But Charlie has managed to rescue foolhardy Cousin George after getting the rope around him, and while he's passed out, Charlie goes and runs for Gramps. Now, this is classic Charlie. This is great, where it's just goes completely off the rails, especially with the picnic.
Yeah, there's no off button on the eating of the picnic.
It's also the multiple ropes that are attached to Charlie to try and pull him away from the food or in a certain direction. And there's like, it's just ridiculous the amount of ropes. They make no attempt to hide them whatsoever. And it's really funny.
Yeah, that's what makes it. And I like the simulated drowning.
Yeah.
Had to clarify this.
That sound effect, that dun dun dun, is that like the theme song from like the first few seasons of 7-Up?
Yes, it is. Yeah, that reminds me of 7-Up. I've got that kind of association.
Why was it a theme song? It's like so ominous.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
I can tell you the history of this. So 7-Up was originally just a single report for a British TV program. I think it was called World in Action or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was the theme of World in Action. And World in Action, of course, was like Four Corners or something. It was a very serious current affairs show. So, this was in the 60s. So that was their theme song, and that's why. And then there was such a big reaction to 7-Up that they decided to do 14-Up and so forth. And it became entirely independent of World in Action, which, of course, got axed at some point as well. So, yeah, that's why.
Fascinating.
And, yeah, I assume it's like that theme. It's sort of one of the many pieces of library production music where, like it's not made specifically for that program, but sort of any production house can just license the track and use it for whatever purpose they want. It's one of the lovely things about finding all of these hidden gems of music that just sort of come up as little Easter eggs through different shows.
Hot tip, spend hours diving into KPM Production Library on Spotify. I swear you will find some golden nuggets in there. And you will stop thinking about the latest charts or whatever. You will start thinking of KPM music. You'll love it. I promise.
Spotify's just going to recommend a whole bunch of weird little jingles instead of proper music.
All I can say is when that starts coming up as Wild Waters is your favourite Spotify track for the year, at the end of the year, you know you've listened to too much barge ass. Anyway, back to Charlie. And so Charlie battles the snowy blizzards, boat paddles, and gets Gramps just in time with his first aid kit. And Gramps resuscitates foolhardy Cousin George with a Vicks inhaler, which is absolutely fantastic. So, hooray!
The first aid kit is basically a tiny little suitcase, which it is empty apart from the Vicks inhaler. So the Vicks inhaler is presumably a cure-all.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Yay! Nice work, Charlie!
So thank God for Charlie. And so the radio reporter praises Charlie's work and makes note that you shouldn't leave the radio on while you're at home.
And I also love the earnest acting from Charles Bud Tingwell saying, "Don't thank me, thank Charlie." like again, he could say anything and turn it into first class acting.
And so Foolhardy does go home. He's learned his lesson. That water is not to be mucked around with. So Gramps and the Pissweek kids send him off home on the train with a bandaged arm.
Yes, the credits were funny. How funny was all those extra organisations that came in to help them in the dam? Like, I don't know, the New South Wales Lifesavers or
Westpac Rescue.
Synchronised swimming.
I think my favourite out of that is the Newcastle Synchronised Swimming Association.
And of course we discover
when it says no animals were harmed in the making of this production, but we did belt the kids a bit.
and then we discover it's a Pissweek production, 1982.
Yeah, it always says 1982 because it's got that vibe.
Yeah, anyone who was around in 1982 would understand.
Now it's a couch time with Jane and our old favourites Jeff and Terry Bailey, formerly of Home Cladding, Global Air, Sound City, and Fine Art Barn.
Boys, it's been a while. Thanks for coming.
Don't thank us. Don't thank us. Thank our parole officer. It was
Terrific.
He trusts us. He's undercover too.
Now, is the parole officer, is that Rob's dad or some kind of I think it's one of Rob's relatives anyway, the parole officer.
Don't know.
Because he's been in it before. Do you remember, like, there was a testimonial in a previous Jeff and Terry, and it was that same guy. So I think it's Rob's dad.
Is it the same guy? I don't know. The one in the testimonial seems different. Rounder in face.
I think they're the same. I mean, maybe they're brothers. I don't know.
Old guys look kind of the same. I love this Jeff and Terry because it sort of starts out a bit like it's not like it used to be, you know, like it's sort of not hitting the same marks that it used to, and then
it's still shambolic as always, though.
It just sort of shifts gear, like it's talking about the pet stuff, and that's a little bit wonky because you sort of think, oh, the poor pets. And then they say, okay, well, now we're used car salesmen, and oh my God, it's hilarious. Just that list of car models.
But before they go legit, there's that one little reference that they do make to stir up Jane.
Oh. Hey, Jane, whoa. You're a beautiful woman. But the words that come from your mouth aren't becoming.
Yeah, that's all that flirting that we were discussing before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's all that casting aspersions.
Yeah, casting aspersions. I love that.
Yeah, to me, it sort of seems like this sketch was sort of like they've sort of mashed two sort of separate sketches together in that, you know, in those two halves with the pet stuff and the car stuff.
Yeah, because it does with the Jeff and Terry's pet world, which burnt down. And then it goes into
like it didn't seem like there was enough to for either concept to sustain a full sketch. So they just sort of went, put them together. That'll be enough for one.
Well, does anyone have the list of cars that they were trying to flog?
Oh yes, yes, I've got the list here. So amongst the cars that they were trying to sell were the Holden Death Trap, the Ford Crumple, the Toyota Cartwheel, the Pontiac Skidmaster, the Lada Molotov, the Hyundai Mishmash.
No, it was it was the Hyundai Mishmash.
the Suzuki Clydesdale, and then there was a 4x4 flimsy. So I might have missed one or two there.
There was also the Isuzu Ill-Conceived and the Leyland Epitaph.
But for Jane, the classy lady who needs a European luxury car, there was the
yes.
Foot.
Guaranteed to break down before you crash.
Or she could have opted for the Alpha Fiasco.
Yeah.
And don't forget to add some Bridgestone Baldy tyres to your vehicle.
Yes, but they all have the airbag, the fully approved airbag by Jeff and Terry, but it only work if you blow it up when you've had the accident.
Yeah, 4/1000th of a day.
I love it when Rob and Santo get up to Jane and they start to do that thing, and Jane goes, "Oh no, what's happening here?" and they're like, "Oh, sarcasm."
Technically, that airbag is safer than Takata, though.
This is true.
They just sort of end the sketch on the old freeze frame leaping in the air. Oh, what a feeling stuff.
Yeah.
Which I really miss because they don't do it in the Toyota ads anymore.
No, you have
someone. It's some sort of like generic people like it's. How can I put it? It's people leaping up in the air over the words "oh, what a feeling," but it's nothing related to the ad anymore. So, like a comedy writer I know called David M. Green was in a Toyota ad once, and he never got to do the iconic leap.
No, and I've seen that ad too. I know which ad you're referring to.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that. That's really disappointing.
Sorry.
He also writes a Mad as Hell, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny guy. Now we have a commercial which is completely voiced by Judith, and it's all about the reality of a 0055 number when they existed at the time.
Oh yes, back in these pre-internet days. back when you couldn't hold porn in the palm of your hand. Sorry to be that illustrative.
Well, when you turned on the television late at night back in the early 90s, you would get a whole bunch of these 0055 ads for basically sex lines. And Judith sort of points out that some of the double entendres on these lines were ones that even John Blackman wouldn't touch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it was written by Judith Lucy as well as being voiced by her? Because it sort of seems like she's really... apart from putting the boot into 0055 lines in general, she also lays into the type of people who call them.
It's definitely her tone of comedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's time for Toilet Break, and it is another potluck installment, Act 5. Oh, one of my favourites, Krista Crawl.
And apparently a large number of Potluck fans had written in requesting it, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. I like to think this is true.
I tried to find her for this podcast, and it's so goddamn hard. The only person I could find that is in relation to her is someone with the same name but with a double L in the surname. But I can't tell if that's her or not, like going by the photos. So... I should have messaged. I should have.
Krista Kroll is very much a stage name.
Yeah.
It's not real to me at all.
I think after that sort of performance, you'd want a nom de plume. But this is just like amazing because both the key and the timing are both way off. And she does things like singing the chorus during the verse and like trying to hold back and try and find her place. It's just, I can understand why it must have been so memorable to all those Potluck fans.
And she knew she was out of tune and out of place.
Oh,
and
yeah.
She wasn't following the music.
Yeah.
Might have been something wrong with it.
I know people love this one, but this one to me really illustrates the cruelty of this show. Like, even though we didn't have reality TV back in 1987, this was the beginnings of it because they really obviously just pulled her out of a waiting audience. She'd probably been waiting 4 hours or some bullshit, and they chucked her on stage and they just said, go. You know, there was no kind of, this is how we're going to do it. This is how the arrangement is. Do you know the words? She probably freaked out. You know, she wasn't used to the studio at all. It just doesn't seem at all nice.
Yeah, I think that probably one of her problems there is that she's probably rehearsed a few times using a backing track or something, and then suddenly she's got this live band, and you know, even though in the footage it looks like the band are right behind her, I reckon she couldn't hear them properly, but also they were playing it differently to how she'd rehearsed it, and she just couldn't adapt to it. So I think part of it's kind of not really her fault, and you can see on her face that she knows it's going wrong. And I think the previous week they had that problem as well. Like they'd obviously been rehearsing to a different version of the song, and the band played something that they weren't expecting. So it's a really difficult ask to get an amateur to just suddenly play with a band they're not familiar with, who are going to play the music differently to how they rehearsed it. So I feel a bit of sympathy for Krista.
Well, someone's written here on one of the videos where it's posted a certain location on Facebook, saying that the band's in the wrong key and can't they tell she's in F sharp, B flat, minor, 7th with a D major.
I'm not going to fact check that. I'll just take their word for it.
So the person on Facebook is saying that the band couldn't hear her and adjust the key that they were playing in.
I think they're illustrating that God knows what fucking key she's in.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's in all
If only auto-tune were available back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor Krista. But please, if you know Krista out there, please let her know to reach out to us. We'd love to chat to find out how it actually was, whose fault it was, i.e. the band's. And
pass along our sympathies as well.
Much love.
So, but there is one positive spin out of this, and that is our favourite, Bernard.
You're blessed with being very good to look at. I'd be content to be a fashion model. Not every model has to sing, you know. And I really honestly feel that your future's in just looking gorgeous. Some dumb blondes look good as dumb redheads. Just be content not to sing. 10.
Thank you.
And Krista says thank you to Bernard at the end.
I'm sure she said thank you.
If he had actually not been so cruel as to say the dumb blonde misogynist fucking bullshit at the end. If he just left it to you look pretty, leave it at that, it's almost like that's the part she takes on as a compliment. She's gone, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. As like
But no, it's not, because he's horrible.
we all love Bernard, so I've got nothing.
All right. Well, just updating the Potluck leaderboard. Krista Cruel comes in third on 10 points with her version of You Keep Me Hanging On. Just 5 points away from David Ty, who did Pressure Down in episode 1 on 15 points. He's in second place. And at the top of the leaderboard on 20 points from episode 2, the Spangles, who did Venus.
Jeez, it sounds like the home viewer on Sale of the Century with the way that you got the scores. Everything's, on in fives.
I'm going to keep track of this, I'm telling you.
And now it's time for Graham and the Colonel. And it's all about cricket, because cricket's going on at Lords in the UK. And they're breaking tradition with the third umpire, as mentioned earlier in the show, with the bottle of piss. And which is weird, as they thought that the English needed a third innings. So that's a it's all about traditions and stuff, but I will say that there is one tradition of the slow clap.
But Lords has traditions that stretch back over 100 years.
Like what? What
Well,
kind
the slow hand clap.
Is that right? That started at Lords?
Started at
did it?
Lords 100 years ago.
That
Imran's...
Yeah, not us, please.
Imran's a wanker. That was started at Lords 100 years
Ooh,
ago.
that would have been like W.G. Grace is a wanker.
wanker.
That's what it would have been. It's as old as cricket itself.
Bang!
The traditions go back a long way, perhaps even a longer time than this sketch started.
Where's that balloon that Dick Smith had?
I love that desperation for a new prop. Like,
Yeah.
this will save it.
But there's plenty more. In fact, there's one more. I got one more grab. The Colonel asks about the AC Milan.
Did you see AC Milan this week?
I didn't see
They
that.
They played in Sydney and in Melbourne. They beat the Socceroos. And I saw a very interesting interview with one of their players after that.
Did you?
Daniele Massaro.
Gee, you say that.
Daniele Massaro.
You say that so well, Colonel. There's no Italian blood. that rough Australian exterior.
Well, I don't know, perhaps if
I
you...
mean, if you went back into your family tree, is there
Do you
anything
think?
in your family tree?
Well, I'm just trying to think. Both my parents were Italian. Yeah. And I was born in Italy and I'm an Italian citizen.
Well,
but
then,
apart from that, there's not much
You just
Italian.
keep delving in there, you might find
But
something.
I did see the interview with Daniele Massaro, and
I am very happy to be here in Australia. My only hope is that the guy who does this translation doesn't sound too woggy.
that is a very interesting interview. Arrivederci to that one.
You know, if we were horses, there'd be a white screen.
I love Sancho's arrivederci to that one.
Yeah, arrivederci.
Well, that's what makes Graham and the Colonel, isn't it? When they sort of critique their own material and how it goes down with the audience, and that's actually where most of the humour lies. Is that?
Yes, as someone who didn't follow any sport whatsoever, I just liked it when they fluffed up their lines and made silly jokes.
Yep, me too.
But and then they make reference to the beauty pageant winner as well, with the second prize winner, $10. You won second prize in a beauty contest.
Brilliant Monopoly reference in that.
They also talk about Marbo briefly too.
Yeah, I don't feel qualified to comment about any of the political stuff, really.
No.
And, I mean, thankfully, they don't really get too political because they just sort of confuse the name Marbo with the Mambo or the Forbidden Dance.
I always thought the Forbidden Dance was the Lambada.
It is the Lambada.
It is.
So it's a bit of a stretch.
And they make a reference to Somalia and the Mogadishu strongman General Adid, and they talk about how he looks like the grandfather from the Cosby Show. So yeah,
Or like Chicken George from Roots.
yeah.
Yeah,
And having seen
political at all in this politics section.
Yeah, and then it sort of gets even worse, doesn't it, when they get into the African tribe stuff? It's just like, oh no.
Yeah, it just goes a bit weird. But, you know, towards the end of Graham and the Colonel, they actually were kind of glad they were wrapping it up.
You know, it may surprise you, but that's about the end.
Now we've got the closing, and Judith, before they lead into the usual musical closing, Judith reads out a viewer letter, and she goes straight for the book title bit. But I paused the video, and I
yes.
it took me a while to decipher because of the handwriting, but this is what the actual letter of the show, the actual letter showed. Dear Late Show, where did you get that new girl, Judith Lucy? She is shithouse. I'd rather blow my brains out than listen to her drone on. On another note, I love those Life's Little instruction books, and I am thrilled they've released another. Do you know where the original idea came from? Keep up the good work and get rid of that loser.
Yeah.
Definitely a joke there. Well,
yeah.
Well,
Judith, some reality.
Yeah, Judith did get a lot of negative reaction, unfortunately. I like her, and lots of people do, but yeah, she certainly divided opinion. But when she talks about this letter, she mentions that it comes from someone called Audrey Fairthorne, I think. And I believe that Audrey Fairthorne is actually Judith's best friend, because over the years I've heard a lot of references to Judith's best friend Audrey, in various interviews and stand-ups she's done, and I'm pretty sure that's who she's referring to there.
That's cool.
There is an address on that letter, though. Did you notice that? A WA address? Now, of course, if that is real. But yeah, they would blur that out now.
They would.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
What's the address? Does anyone have a screenshot of it so we can quickly Google
I have it in front of me. 111, maybe Alban Lake Road, Melville, WA.
Somebody's putting it into Google Maps.
See, this address could be where Judith grew up, or could be anything, couldn't it?
Yeah, something Lake Road starts with an A. I think the next one's a B, but the rest is a bit.
Unless it's Albert Lake.
It looks like it ends with an N.
Looks like is the first letter an A or is it an N? I'm looking at a screenshot now.
You are listening to live sleuthing on the Champagne Comedy Podcast.
Sleuthing or stalking?
Well, Melville is definitely a city in WA, but it's very small.
It looks like in Lake Road, so North Lake Road.
North Lake Road.
111 North Lake Road, Willagee, WA, which is also McDonald's Melville. So it's pretty much close to. It's like a borderline of it does exist, and now it looks like it's a shop.
I'm just glad that we've got closure on this issue.
Thank goodness. All right, well, let's steam right through the whole thing because Judith just responds to it and fluffs up the joke. So
Life's little book of useless shit.
Yep.
It's saved.
Hooray. And Jace has a pearler as well because he received a letter from ACW Promotions Proprietary Limited. I looked it up, couldn't find anything, but the letter, reading through it, it looks like it was a proper thing.
Well, proper for the purposes of the joke.
Yeah. Asking him to try out a car for a day. And so he got all dressed up to the nines to take his date out and not realising it was a front loader.
Put through, quite a lot of different scenarios, going through the car wash, going through a Macca's drive-through, and, of course, parking's not a problem when you can just push the other cars out of the way. And then concluding with, quote, a bit of Stephen's magic, unquote.
Yes. The old, I'm just going to stretch my arms here. Oh, there's a shoulder.
Now it's the musical finale, and Mick was instructed to get Whitney Houston because Whitney Houston was in the charts because of The Bodyguard with a very, very popular song, a cover actually of Dolly Parton.
Whitney Houston is going to be performing under our end credits, and I must say,
I thought you meant Michael Whitney.
the cricketer Michael Whitney.
The cricketer, the guy who plays cricket for Australia. Are you angry with me, Tony? Look, please sit back and enjoy Michael Whitney as he... what's he singing? I will always love you, Mick.
I love that line from Tony.
Yeah.
I will always love you, Mick.
He won't, Funny man feud, guys. Funny man feud.
Is that not resolved yet?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because every time there's a new Sizzle Town, they promote it on Malloy, but that's because I think Matt Dower is employed on both programs. So I don't know.
It's a shame.
I think it's mutual with that, it's kind of that dust is settled, but it's kind of that indirect, fair enough, we acknowledge it, but that's it.
It was over a documentary, wasn't it, for Bad Eggs or Crackerjack or something?
Boytown
Right,
Confidential.
And this is Mike's rendition.
And
I think he does a good job there. He's not a professional singer at all.
It's like it's not bad enough to be too funny enough. It's sort of okay. It's like
it's not Krista Kroll
in the shower.
Well,
that segment sounds pretty ordinary, but the entire segment on the show is actually pretty decent. And I think if there was some reverb, maybe a bit of an auto tune like they'll do now, it wouldn't be half bad.
Yeah, he sings it quite competently, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yep.
In 2020, he actually was on the set of the Matty Johns show on Foxtel, And this is his response to this because Matty Johns actually plays the clip. And this is what Mike has to say.
That was crazy. Of course, you know, they're very funny boys. They rang me up, flew me to Melbourne. They had the stage set up like the gig. And I go, you really want me to try and sing a Whitney, like my register's a lot lower than that? It was hilarious.
The fact that he was referring to his register means that he was trying hard.
Well, the bit that they actually played on the Matty Johns show was the bit just before the actual rolling credits of The Late Show. And so when they cut it, and Mike actually goes, oh, you should continue playing it because I'm dressed up in the actual costume from The Bodyguard. And they had to say, oh, yeah, we had to cut it because of the credit. It's on YouTube. So, but the fact is that Mike was so proud of that work.
He should be. I think he did a good job for someone who isn't a singer.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we've got the rolling credits. I mean, instead of explaining what happens, because of our VHS tapes that we've got, now this is the Melbourne ending, okay? So for everyone who was in Melbourne and all that, kind of got the wrap up of, you know, the audience tickets. This is Melbourne's ending.
Very funny. I'm here in the studio audience of The Late Show with Gary. Gary. And Gary, have you had a good time? Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. It's just like being, well, at the scene of a car accident, really. And if you'd like to be in the audience next week, phone this number here, 524-2444, and you can be part of the debacle, the magic that is. Oh, phone after 10 a.m. Monday morning, please. Any earlier, you'll wake up the staff, so don't do it. Thanks very much.
That's for your magic. Thank you very much, Ben. Now,
well, I called that number today.
Yeah.
Added a 03. Unfortunately, it's disconnected.
Ah, bum.
That's all it deserves.
Yeah. Now, this is what the rest of Australia got who weren't part of Victoria or Melbourne. This is the ending that you would get nationally.
From ABC Video, it's the...
So it'll go straight into a promo. We never got that solicitation.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Is that rare to have that ending on the tapes?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it the only one?
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you where that came from, but obviously someone that lives in Victoria at the time.
Most of the episodes have got the ticket plug though. Yeah.
Oh, right, that's what I mean. So, okay, right. So it's rare not to have that then, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so therefore they'll be taped in Victoria or Melbourne
Right, okay.
City. Yeah.
That makes sense because the bulk of the tapes came from my friend Tony who lived in Victoria at the time. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So, and that Sydney ending that we heard then, that went straight into a promo, was from Kim's tape.
Yeah, that was my original tape. I was living in London at the time that Ben was collecting all of these episodes, so I was unable to source my copies at the time. But just as well, because we all got those extra nuggets of Melbourne ticket information that it's like an Easter egg, isn't it?
Yeah.
Listening to all that.
Yeah.
The bit that you didn't include in that, Matt, which I really like, is when it comes back to Tony and he's sitting in the audience, he goes, "Oh, that's a killer. That's a killer."
Was there any Easter eggs in the credits, Daniel?
No, not really. It sort of seems that with the change of from season 1 to season 2, there's not really any sort of joke credits or anything like that. The special guests were Charles Bud Tingwell and Michael Whitney. I don't know why I keep on calling him Michael. I keep on thinking of him as Mike Whitney.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, perhaps it's all the wandering around shopping centres giving $50 notes to people to drop their dacks on Who Dares Wins. But yeah, Charles Bud Tingwell, Michael Whitney. We also had Denzel Howson. I think he might have been the old fart in the I'm Stupid ads, but I can't confirm that. And of course, collectively, the Piss Week Kids.
That's it for episode 23 of the Champagne Comedy Podcast. So feel free to email us, champagnelateshow@gmail.com, Twitter @TLSChampagne, and there's also our website, champagnecomedy.com. So hit up the forum when it decides to work, or go to Facebook and look up The Late Show. The the page itself, which has over 27,000 people. As well, search for the Champagne Comedy Podcast group on Facebook. It's on private, but answer the 3 questions and you're pretty much in. So I just want to say thank you, Alison, Daniel, Kim and Prue.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
Right, and also thank you very much, Ben, for joining. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
And thank you, Ben, for everything.
Yep. Cool. All right. I'm Matt. Thanks for listening. Catch you next episode.
Bye.
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 You know, it may surprise you, but that's about the end.
Thank you for listening to the Champagne Comedy Podcast, created by fans for the fans. For more information on this podcast, please visit champagnecomedy.com. Produced by Matt Fulton Productions, mattfulton.com.au.